in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what was behind the curtain? The face of evil smirking, with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannons could breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mumia Obsidian Ali. You know who I am. I need no introduction, right? And you're listening to the Grown Man Hour with my man Bernard Riley, heard weekdays right here on YouTube. What do you think about that? How about that? Now let's get back on with the show. Thank you.
What's up, good people? What's up, good people? Welcome to the show. Don't adjust your eyes. You are witnessing some witchcraft. We got Ike Ogiamian on the big screen. Say something to make sure that everybody can hear you.
Shout out, shout out, shout out. It's like I'm live in the studio, right? Like I'm right there behind you watching you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Push one in the chat if you could hear me and Ike. Push one in the chat if you could hear me and Ike. You should be able to hear us both. Let me see some ones in the chat room. and we can get the show on the road. All right. We got a 1 from KD. Got a 1 from KD. Got a 1 from. We got a 1 from. Who do we got a 1 from here? Got a 1
You
from
might want to,
Bruce Taylor.
Bernard, click the echo cancellation if you don't have it clicked already from StreamYard. You may already have it clicked, but I think it'll make, that echo cancellation tick mark.
Echo cancellation. I don't even know what an echo cancellation.
If you go to the audio settings, right? If you go to settings,
okay,
and then you go to the audio portion.
Audio.
And then
echo
below,
cancellation.
You have that clicked?
That should be checked, you're saying?
Yeah, sometimes it's better when you're doing something like this, because right now there's a slight kind of a echoey thing, but because of certain feedbacks you're doing. But just click it and you'll be fine.
It's clicked. It's just no.
Okay, then you're okay. It was unclicked.
It was already blue. I do know one thing I could possibly do to minimize it. Give me 1 second. Bear with me. Bear with me. We're doing better. We're doing better with this the last time we tried to do it. Give me 1 quick second. 1 quick second.
All right. I assume they can still hear me. And yeah, the thing is, you have 2 streams. I think you're already sounding better.
Yeah, I did one thing that at least I, in theory, believe got rid of the problem. The chat room is saying I'm good. KD is saying I'm good. It's a possibility that it may be an echo that only you can hear. And so if the audience can't hear the echo, but you can hear the echo, we're gonna make we're gonna make you suffer through it.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. I'm willing to be the guinea pig here for this experience of this inaugural big screen jumbotron experience.
Yeah. Long as the audience good, we will go ahead and just torture you. You'll suffer through it. You'll suffer through it. But all right, we got Ike in the building. I just wrote the intro to the Mumia Obsidian Ali Experience, and I tend to be bad sometimes at selling things. Ike's a good salesman, so I'll probably throw it to him a few times. We'll periodically mention that because, well, how could we not? We're both going to be there at the event, so I'll finally meet Ike in person for the first time. I've talked to him plenty of times on my show. We've done a number of streams together. I've been on his show. And so it's definitely going to be great to meet him in person there. And the website that, if RM is here, she normally drops it in the chat, is blackmanosphereevents.com, I believe it is. But so we'll get into that. But we got an interesting topic here, and Ike always brings the interesting topics. The simple title, 4 things modern men must do 4 things. Set that up before we dig into it.
All right. Welcome and formal introduction. My name is Ike, and here today I'm going to show you 4 things that a modern man needs to do in order to globalize and thrive. In order to globalize so you don't lose your identity, your autonomy, you don't lose your economic freedom, so you don't get swept into the trash bin of history, okay? 4 things, the first of which is get a passport, as you know, you may not be surprised with, okay? I'm also going to talk about why you got to do this, why I think that the imperative facing every modern person today, especially men, is to globalize or die, and that you don't have a choice in the matter, okay? That globalization is a major political, economic, technological trend. You're not going to stop it. You either get on the bandwagon or you're going to die. It's like it's like the cities, for example, in the United States that decided, oh, you know what, I don't believe in globalization. They didn't literally say this, okay? But they've been swept away, right? Doesn't matter who lost their jobs in Gary, Indiana, for example. But globalization is the kind of thing that'll come in and wipe Gary, Indiana clean.
Well, hold on. Go ahead. Take us really slow. Let's keep it very, very remedial and set the building blocks. Globalization. Explain just briefly what exactly is globalization, if you just definition.
That is a very good question, okay? And we're going to use as a working definition, globalization is the spreading of technology, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, we'll explain, well, what does that mean? Just give a couple of examples. So technology means I never had a typewriter before, and then I create the typewriter. So that takes me from 0 typewriters to 1 typewriter. Globalization takes you from one typewriter to how do I make a billion typewriters, different brands, different, make it in different places, get it in every little corner in Africa. Technology takes us from no internet to internet, right? And then globalization is the spreading of the internet. So there's much spreading that still needs to be done. So the job of the spreading of the globalization is not done. So the globalization game is not sewn up. But again, direct answer to your question, what is globalization? Can be thought of as the spreading of technological advancements, or technological inventions, if you will.
Okay. So when you're basically, and it was a tagline, and shout out to JC the Conqueror. I do appreciate you coming through bright and early. I took away a lot of wrenches. I'm back at them. I've been observing people who I think I can trust.
Like Joseph Stalin. Once they start getting power, they start chopping off the heads of the inner circle.
No, I had outer circle in the inner circle, man. I looked at all my moderators. There was so many names I didn't recognize. I just did a wholesale. I just had to clean house, man. I was like, who are these
the
people?
gulag.
Yeah, they was deleting people after the show and blocking people. It was all kind of crazy stuff going on. But anyway, I'm starting to trust a little more. Starting to trust a little more again. So shout out to JC the Conqueror. But you talked about the globalization. You said it's the expanding of technology. Did I get that right, more or less?
Yeah, expanding, the spreading. It's like you're just spreading it. It's like
spreading of technology. Now we're going to get into that. And, just how does the person on the ground, and we probably was going to stumble into this, and I'm probably jumping ahead. How does the person on the ground, let's just say not regular Joe, not too regular of a Joe, but just because in order to benefit from it, I do think you have to, have to be a little quick with it. You have to be proactive. You have to be a little industrious, if I'm presuming. How does that person get into the game, so to speak, if I'm framing that correctly?
Okay. So in order to do that, I think that we should just talk about the problems that globalization is going to put in front of you. Before we get to the level of, let's get on this globalization horse and master it, let's just talk about how not to get run over. By the stampede.
So right? It's not about building the train and driving it. It's about not being on the tracks getting ran over by the train.
Definitely. I think that these first 4 steps are basically to be able to protect your assets. And we'll get to that point. We'll get to that point. Why these 4 steps, the first of which is get a passport, gets you to that point. But let's just talk about the problems, right?
Okay.
And I like to give this analogy that if you go back, let's say in the 19th century, the trend then was, let's say, industrialization. So you're building ships with steel, and you got guns and gunpowder, and you got organization of your army corps and all that kind of stuff, right? And when these people show up at your shores with ships and all this steel ships, you can't bury your head in the sand and say, I don't believe in steel. I don't believe in gunpowder. I don't believe it. It's like, no, you're going to get run away. So back then it was modernize or die, industrialize or die. That was the struggle. Now it's globalize or die. And what exactly is going on now? Now the first movers on the chessboard, being, let's say, Apple, have taken their jobs and they've gone to China. Other manufacturers as well. We were talking about, let's say, the Rust Belt in the United States, car manufacturing leaving there a long time ago and leaving certain cities. Perhaps some cities you're familiar with, Bernard.
Those that don't know, I'm from Michigan, so you're talking about the automotive industry and all of that. I've witnessed those changes with my own eyes. But so yeah, definitely.
So this is what globalization is doing to you. But now let's flip it and then see, cool. The first people already made the first move. Apple is not stupid. The industry that completely took those jobs and gutted those cities and said to hell with the American citizen. They didn't do it out of stupidity. There was a great incentive to do that. Number one, we talked about what globalization is, which is the spreading of technology. You can't stop that. Like, you know what I mean? Like there is a tendency, it has a logic in and of itself. But what else is not stopping globalization? Basically, what else is, the profit incentive, opening up the market, a whole global market of possible people that you can buy from, and then also possible labor, right? This makes it such that globalization is not a trend that you're going to fight. Again, I'm making the point that it's like you saying you don't believe in steel and you don't believe in gunpowder, and you're just going to hide in your little village. We know what happened to those Africans over there. Okay, they didn't quite make it, right?
If you weren't African, that would have sounded bad. If you weren't born in Nigeria, see what happened to them Africans over there.
Yeah, for real. And then some of the elites took advantage of it and sold their fellow people to the white man. But that's a different story. Okay, that's a different story. But the idea is, if you are saying, I don't have to participate in this global marketplace, it's like saying, I don't believe in steel, I don't believe in gunpowder, all that stuff's not going to happen to me. And then you end up being Gary, Indiana. Okay, so getting the passport, which is the first step, basically is the step towards saying, okay, I admit. Okay, it's like coming clean and saying, I get it. Okay, this globalization thing is real. This is my minimum barrier to entry. I need this thing called a passport, right? That's the first step to actually believing. Okay, because somebody could push back right now. You, Bernard, could push back at any of these premises and say, no, I don't believe globalization is a trend, right? And you're like, we got all the stats to knock that down, right? Or you say, no, I don't believe globalization is a particular danger to me or my kind. And we have the picture of Gary, Indiana, and many other cities like that to show you that, no, it is happening.
Right.
No, I don't believe. Go ahead.
I like how you pointed out, and a lot of times with us, we have to take the step back because you pointed out something well. It's spreading, and it's like nothing can be done about it. It's like throwing gremlins in the water. It's like they're going to spread, and then they're going to jump back in. It's going to spread. It's going to spread. They're going to get bigger and bigger and more and more. So a lot of times when we look at that, we look at what happens to a place like Gary, Indiana, and we look at it from the standpoint of it's the government. They're doing out there. They're deliberately trying to harm or hurt the people. They don't care about the little guy. It's the man trying to hold us down. A lot of times we look at it like that, but I like the way that you're framing it from the standpoint that no, this is somebody created the automobile. We're no longer in horses and buggies. That one car means eventually there's going to be 1,000 cars, then 1,000,000 cars. If you're still on a horse and a buggy, you're not going to be able to keep up with the modern world. And so I do like the way that you framed it that way, that you transitioned us into talking about getting a passport. Now, in this space, you know how we operate. We got 100 people in here, so hit the like button. It's going to be a great show. A lot of good information here. And you talked about the passport, and in this space, people are looking at the passport for a different reason. They're thinking some racially ambiguous, barely speak English,
exotical as a game changer.
Exotical and affordable ladies of the night. That's what that's what they're thinking about with the passport. Now, you're becoming a global, international man and keeping pace with globalization and being able to make that money. Okay, while you're there, you can partake, but that ain't what you're necessarily talking about here. So explain the importance of the passport, because truth be told, you could do business all around the world without leaving your living room. Truth be told. So explain the importance of the passport when it comes to globalization and this train that's coming while we're sitting on the tracks.
Good. So you are absolutely correct. You can sit right now and order things from Amazon that are actually coming from some, I don't know, Serbia or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in other words, because globalization has happened and because technology is such that you can participate in it, and that's a big difference now. By the way, when Apple started doing the globalization thing, you had to be a big corporation to participate in the global market, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to fill containers with stuff and get it into ships. And now you got a phone, okay? So you're pointing out in a correct way that you are already participating in a certain way in the global marketplace, and maybe you could start getting into maybe hiring people to do some work for you. You need a coder. You need to write an app. You have an idea for an app. You need somebody to code something. And you know what? Bernard Riley, by the way, you had what's the name of the Black James Bond again? That comic book. was being sponsored here for a
Division
while.
6. Division 6 was the name of the comic book. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure those people whom are in, some people are in the chat right now recognize or remember that comic book. Where did that guy get the writers, right? If you recall, okay, and the artists, okay, he got them from Argentina or wherever else. It was an international type of deal, okay. So basically, you're saying, look, why do I have to get a passport? I can get writers or programmers and stuff like that. I could go to Upwork. 100%, that is true. But where you have to get to when it comes to protecting your assets, okay, and being able to take advantage of the arbitrage. Arbitrage just means differences in prices. Basically, in order to get to that point, you're going to need to do certain things like, let's say, buy land somewhere in, I don't know, maybe it's Southeast Asia, maybe it's Brazil, maybe while you're on one of your trips for the, you said, exotical, affordable ladies of the night, then you can also be there to look, because when it comes to things like, let's say, for example, let's talk about what I'm doing, how I've gotten into the international game. First, I started out just hiring people internationally, and I really didn't have to travel for that, okay? But then when it comes to buying land, building an apartment complex, or being in the transportation industry, for example, those kinds of things, you actually have to touch ground in the particular location a couple of times, maybe shake a couple of hands, have a couple of people down there, okay? Now, you can say, well, why do I have to do that? Well, because there is the possibility of you still making, you still protecting your wealth from inflation, right? What was the inflation numbers recently? Anyone can go right now and look at it. April, it was 8.5, okay? Year over year, the sharpest rise in inflation since 1981. The sharpest rise in inflation since 1981, year over year, right now. So basically, your dollars are getting inflated away, the value of them. Where you want to be is in assets, because what happens to assets with inflation? The price actually is going up. Okay, when something is getting inflated, something is actually getting inflated. It is the assets that are getting inflated. So, but the game over here is sewn up. You wanna get into real estate development in the United States? No, but you can go to a place. One move, for example, let me just drop one particular gem. Is you want to buy some land, okay? But it's a 10 or 15-year plan in the sense that, okay, it's not going to be, you're not trying to flip it next year, or you're not trying to build something next year per se, but you need to buy some land. Basically, you look at the infrastructure plan of where things are going. Like, oh, a new port is going to get built in the next 8 years at this particular location. And a train track is also moving here from Nigeria to Ghana or something like that. And then you buy a piece of land along the route, okay, boom. It's going to be cheap right now, but guess what's going to happen in 15 years when gas stations are going to be needed on that route, when stores and all these other things are going to be needed on that route, right? You're the one that's now holding that land. And in order to make that kind of move, you can't just make it from sitting in your room, okay? Now, that's one thing. Okay, in the business end, on the business pragmatic end, that's one thing why a passport is needed. But secondly, it's because of the mindset change that's going to happen when you actually start moving outside of the box, literally, which is the United States, which you're in, and all of a sudden start seeing yourself more as, I don't like to use the term global citizen, but more seeing yourself as a participant in the globalization game. Some people may say, oh, it doesn't matter, you're still stuck in the matrix and everyone's still a slave. But look, sure, we're all slaves, okay? But there's a difference between a slave that's strapped on the wall with a freaking head chain around his head, can't move his head, versus a guy that has, a 30-yard tether on his chain, right? I can at least walk around, I could turn my head, I could sit down. Okay, you can say we're both slaves, but hey, at least I'm not dying from arthritis at 24 years old, right?
What's wrong with the term? Why don't you like the term global citizen? Sounds a little commie. That's
it sounds, it's like yuppie. It's like, oh, I go to Davos, I go to the World Economic Forum, I talk about cosmopolitanism. It's a certain kind of it's a culture thing, right? It's a certain type of class of people that say those kinds of things. That's just like, get the hell out of here. What do you mean by that? It's like saying microaggression or something like that for me.
Got you. I got you. You don't want to sound like one of those guys, but okay, gotcha. All right. No, interesting, good stuff. And once again, shout out to JC the Conqueror. I do appreciate you dropping the super chat on it. I do greatly appreciate that. and looking at a number of things here. And holy crap, I can't even see my notes. So you're gonna have to work with me.
Those glasses that you refuse to get, Bernard. I mean,
no,
we keep telling you.
it's the setup. It's just I keep changing the setup. I got it perfect, but then when I just tweaked it right here and got you right here, now the laptop that I used to solve the problem is okay. I just need to get glasses. Okay, fine. But you said get a Revolt card. Now this is where getting.
Oh yeah, it's a Revolut.
Revolut. See, glasses is far away. Revolt.
Revolut. Okay.
Revolut card. I have no idea what that is. You're gonna.
You know what? It's pretty simple. Okay, it's pretty simple. So basically, step 1 is get a passport. Step 2 is get a Revolut card. But step 1 and 2 can be bunched up into these certain kinds of travel and financial documents. Revolut card is basically a card that you can type it in right now into Google that allows you to transfer cash into it, and then you can, into this kind of fintech company, so financial tech, like just let's say like Cash App or something else like that. But basically, you can, if you're traveling anywhere, you could just order up a card, which would be like an ATM card, and then you can withdraw currencies out of any ATM in the world. So basically, it's a way of setting up yourself so that you can easily transact financially. If you remember my first show that I came to, first time I was on your channel, you interviewed me. I said one of the first things I said was, go out there and look into getting an international bank account or getting into the international money game. Again, okay, you might ask, okay, why is this important? Okay, maybe I buy that globalization, that the call of our time is globalize or die. Maybe I buy that, I got to take it, I got to take this thing seriously. Maybe I buy that inflation is eating my assets away. And if I need to get in the asset, in other words, I know I need to be in the asset game, but it's easier to get in the asset game in somewhere in Southeast Asia, for example, where China is going to build the next Macau in next 20 years, for example, right? And those plans actually exist. What I mean by that is you can know, it's not a big secret where development tends to be going towards, right? And then you want to spot a little piece of land. You're not trying to buy the whole freaking county, okay? That's the billionaires are buying the county around. Just get a spot of land along that track of, let's say it's a railroad or the place where the Chinese are going to build their next gambling station in Southeast Asia because Macau is going down, right? Something like that. But the reason why you want to get into this international financial game as well is this simple arbitrage, which I said before, which is the differences in price between things. In this place, let's just look at the price of currency. If you are in the transportation business in Ghana, like I am, let's say you're buying a car in Ghana and it's cost you $6,000, okay? $6,000 to buy one car, to give it to somebody so that they can do an Uber and pay you weekly. That's the game, okay? And we could talk a little bit more about that game later, by the way. But all of a sudden, you're going to find that when the Ghana CD drops, which is the CD is the currency in Ghana, when it drops in value,
I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah.
You know the audience now.
I try not to be a dumbass. I try to be clear in what I'm saying. So when that Ghana, when the price of, because the cars are priced in CDs, okay, the price of the car doesn't change. It's not like the price of the car is going to change tomorrow because the ratio of CDs to dollars changed. No, because the cars are imported from Europe, and the price is already kind of sewn up there. It costs $6,000 worth of CDs. Okay, now all of a sudden the price drops, which happens all the time, and all of a sudden that money can take you further. So rather than it just being to purchase the car, now I can buy the car, register it, and buy 1 year of insurance. Okay, which is an expense in my business, right? Just because of the fluctuations in currencies. So I'm talking about. People are talking about foreign. Forex is what people call it, right? Foreign currency trading. Okay, that's the extreme where you're actually trading foreign currency. But here I'm just saying, hey, simply getting into other currencies, simply getting into other interest rates. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about the fact that in America, when you put your money in the bank, it's getting eaten away at 8.5%? That's really what's happening to your money, because they'll give you, 0.01% interest. Okay. Have you ever thought of what the interest rate is in Serbia, in Georgia, or whatever, or how I can participate in that interest rate? Again, this is just in the level of protecting your assets again, right? The little that you do have, the more that you need to have. So that's why getting that passport is important. Getting the Revolut card now, which allows you to transact in these different, so you can just land somewhere and then withdraw foreign currency. But a Revolut card there represents, it just doesn't just have to be a Revolut card. It represents all kinds of, let's say, all kinds of international accounting schemes that you can get into. Okay. And also, when you start getting more into this, then it's multiple passports and multiple residencies and citizenships. But let's not get into that yet. When it comes to passport bros, it just came to mind because there is a passport kind of whole talk that generally goes on in this space already called a passport bros. You talked about, I like it, you said, I think it was started with exotical, affordable. Okay, ladies of the night. That's what it tends to be about, like EA ladies of the night, exotical, affordable ones. But that, I guess I'm an honorary passport bro because I'm a immigrant, right? I emigrated out of Africa, came to United States a while ago, right? And then, I go back and forth now. I got that kind of thing. So without thinking about it, okay, I guess okay, you know what? I can come out and talk a lot about this passport thing because this is kind of part of my life story, part of what I do, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that answers your question as to what the Revolut card is and as to why it's important as part of this whole scheme here, to dodge the train of globalization.
No, I get it. I get it. One thing I'll throw at you, like what jobs, and it's probably sort of takes us to the Black Manosphere event, the Mumia Obsidian Ali Experience, where you're going to be speaking at, where you're going to be talking about really a lot of the things that you're talking about now, just more in depth, more in detail. You're going to be this is probably the bullet points of it, but like what jobs, what skills does somebody have to have today in this modern time to not get ran over by that train? You're talking about going over there, getting your passport, having a Revolut card, and doing all of that. But there's still certain skills that one must have on the ground to make sure that they're staying up with the times, up with the globalization. And I say that as somebody who spent a lot of my life doing blue collar work. That was, I don't even want to overrate it and say it was skilled trades. A lot of it was entry level and just kind of worked my way up to sort of kind of skilled trade, but and I felt the effects of that. When you reference Michigan and all the automotive plants out here, and a lot of those jobs are good jobs. They pay well, but times are changing. If you don't have certain skills, you're not going to be able to not going to be able to thrive and compete out here. So what type of skills do people need to have to not get ran over by this train of globalization?
Good. So I'm going to try to keep skills in my head, but ultimately it is a way of protecting assets and a way of starting an asset or augmenting a business that you have. But let's come to the skill thing, because what I'm saying, the good news is, okay, you don't have to have any particular special kind of skill. The quickest skills to get, though, are the blue collar ones, right? They're quick to get and they're quick to become valuable. Okay. And you can start a business with it quicker. To start a business as an engineer, okay, you get that engineering degree, which, it's 5 years if you're 5 years and then or 6 years, okay? And some people get a master's degree. Then you have to work under an engineer for a couple of years, and then you take this crazy exams, and then you get a PE license. You're like 7 years into this thing. And then now you can open up a shingle. The same thing for a lawyer or a dentist. We know the story, right? But for blue collar, it's a lot easier and quicker. So if you imagine, let's say you are a blue collar person, the first thing that I always say is to get those certifications, right? The certifications that allow you to be able to open your own shingle. Or let's say you're a tax accountant, okay? And you're going to get a CPA. That's a certification that they get, I believe. You're an accountant, you get a CPA, right? And that means you're now able to start your own deal, okay? Now, with that, what you can obviously do in the global market is to get help. So you're getting clients, okay? But you want to expand your business because obviously that's what you do as a business person. You go out there. Now, and by the way, when I say business person now, I mean this is the average person. They have no choice but to become entrepreneurial. The average person has no choice but to protect their assets by getting into a cash flowing, or again, it could just be a pure asset like a land asset that increases in value or pays you. It is not a question of, oh, well, I'm not a businessman, or oh, it's just for international business, whatever people like you, Ike. It's just for yuppies like you who like to, wear suits and do all that crap,
Yeah,
and fly business class.
It's for people who call themselves global citizens. Like
It's for people who call themselves global citizens and and name drop.
yeah.
But the point is, it's like I was saying, that's putting your head in the sand saying you don't believe in steel. Okay, because globalization is happening right in front of your eyes, and you're saying, no, I'm not going to do anything about it. I don't believe it. It's not here. That's what you're doing. Okay.
Mhm.
Anyways, I've put a lot down there on the table, but ultimately, with regards to skills, any particular skill that you get, you need to get a certification such that you can do your own independent thing. Because it's this independence now that you're going to take into the international business market. Okay. In a couple of ways. Number one, it's that independent money that you're going to be able to gather up so that you can get $3,000 to buy land somewhere in northern Ghana where it's still cheap. And you can get a nice chunk of land, let's say, for $3,000. Doesn't have to be Ghana. It can be anywhere else in the world, okay? Okay, but the point is, people are talking about the asset game. You can watch 10,000 YouTube videos talking about inflation. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. You know that you need to be in assets, but we all know that it's tough if you don't do it globally. That where the asset game is not completely sewn up yet is international. That's why Apple and all these other people have been doing it, but they have not completely consumed the whole world. If you remember, if we talk about the spreading of things, the spreading of technology, which globalization is, it's not done yet, right? It's not complete. Okay, there are places where it started, China did its thing, and there are other places, but there are many other places where the wave still has to happen. And you're coming in here and riding that wave. Again, how does this relate to skills? Skill, certification, so that then you can go find talent, which, by the way, I'm launching a website. Okay, I'm launching a website in June. And I've been saying it in this channel before with regards to helping people find international competent workers. The name of the company is Kaisari, but we're going to put it out there in the website such that people can actually say, okay, I need a programmer. We focus mainly in the tech area. That's the area of our expertise, if you will. This is the kind of people that we can vet and know how to find and judge. We do personality tests. We do IQ tests. Okay. Why do we do personality tests? Somebody may ask, right? Because we know, especially even in HR departments these days, they do this silly little work personality test and try to categorize different types of people and all that kind of BS. So even on that BS level, it is true. But more fundamentally, we know, for example, the difference between a manager type, okay, two people, they have the same IQ, let's say, okay, but one is a manager type and one is just like this operator type that, is going to standardize all the accounting and have all the spreadsheets and run the whole thing. But the other guy is more like a manager hopping from one thing to the other, more kind of a broad, big picture kind of type of person. And this thing is clearly seen in people's personalities. Okay, so that's how people get into things like, but I got this guy, he seemed good, but it's just not a good fit for this job. So what kind of a person are you looking for in particular to augment this business that you've started with, this skill that you have? Okay, whatever business you've started and whatever, even if, for example, I serve local clients, right? But I have international employees because engineering can be done from anywhere. So maybe if you're an electrician, okay, and you're trying to expand and you're like, but I need the people I need working for me actually boots on the ground, right? So what do I need international stuff for? But when you get to a certain level of electrician, get to a certain level of big, you're going to start drafting your drawings, right? You're going to have maybe a project manager or project engineer that does, electrical drawings, right? That kind of a thing. That kind of a thing can be outsourced. And we know that kind of a thing is expensive. They call them detailers or drafters or pipe fitting drawers or whatever it is, whichever the trade may be, mechanical or electrical, HVAC, whatever it may be. But you were in the trades, right? So you know that drawing comes into play when you're getting to a certain size, right? And that's where you can outsource that. And now you don't have to get an office and all these other things that those other people that are competing with you are dealing with. Okay. But you're still lean and mean and using the international marketplace to help you in that regard. Okay. But again, that's just on the skill side, but we can talk more about the asset side as well, because but I don't know where if we can go there now or. Well, and by the way, what's up with the super chats? There's another one I see, but
no, one of them just hopped on up Christian Hutcherson, who I did an excellent one-on-one with. This is a successful brother. This is a global. This is one of those global citizen types right there as well. Yeah, he says, how do you get into the asset game outside of Western countries where property rights are sacred? You get the assets, but due to corruption and instability, you are at risk. I'm in the USA and Canada. Good question put on the table by Christian Hutchinson. Go ahead. You got it, Ike. All you.
100%. So how do you get the advantages of the gold rush when the gold rush is a frontier place? The rules are not set up. It's the Wild West out there. There's a bunch of shady characters. Basically, the reason I say that is this is always the case where the gold is. This is always the case where the edge is, where the frontier is, where this big opportunity is. There tends not to be a structure already there by definition. And when you don't have this structure there, then it becomes more risky, uncertain, right? Okay, so how do you deal with that? That's part of why I say you got to get a passport and you got to actually have toes on the ground. So let me put it this way. You want to get in the car business, for example. So with the land one, okay, it varies country to country from country. You want to buy land in Nigeria, it's like a lease type deal. Okay, I feel more comfortable maybe dealing in West Africa because I have certain kinds of ties there. But let's say you want to get into the transportation business. I'm going to buy a car and give it to somebody, and then they're going to drive Uber and pay me back business. Okay, you actually need is it a plug that they call them? Okay,
the plug. I believe that's the verbiage.
You do need the plug. You do need the plug. And I am, as part of it, I'm saying, okay, I'm starting this website. I do the transportation business and I do the hiring thing. In the transportation business deal, okay, I'm starting a brokerage, let's say, basically where I'm connecting you with drivers who sign a contract that is enforceable in the courts in Ghana, right? Whereby your risks are clearly stated, okay? Now, obviously, you have to be there, look, see for yourself, okay? You know what I mean? Like, you're not just going to take my word for it that, yeah, Ghana, the law, the court. It's like, okay, cool. It is open, right? You can find out, you know, where laws, what kinds of laws are enforced in certain countries, right? So that's not a secret. So I'm saying that business contract law, very strong in Ghana, okay? But how am I going to find a car person that I can trust? That's where the problem is. It's going to be with the driver. It's not going to be with the contract or the law in this case. It's going to be with the driver. So you're going to need people that are vetted. And it's not like I just have a whole bunch of drivers waiting around because it's hard to find these people, right? So we find a driver for you. You guys sign a contract together. You hand over the keys to the person. That's $6,000, right? Gets you a Toyota Venza. You give it to the person, okay? And then weekly, from week one, first of all, they give you a down payment. Think of yourself as a bank in this situation, okay? So the person wants a car for the Uber business. You are the bank. Typically, you give the bank a down payment, right? So you give the bank a down payment, okay? The bank owns the car, holds on to the papers. You're holding on to the papers of the car. You give the person the car with insurance and the registration that you're going to need to do, you know, on an annual basis, and other things that are kind of obligations that you have towards the driver. And then they're paying you every week. At the end of about 150 weeks, a little less than 3 years, okay, you have $8,000 from your $6,000. Now, what do I mean by $8,000? I mean that the cash flow paid for insurance, it paid for all the other obligations that you have, right? So you actually, you get what I'm saying? You flipped your money 33% from 6,000 to 8,000. Now, but again, let's talk about the question on the table is how do you get into the business? Okay, you find the plugs. They're not so, for example, O'Shea Duke Jackson, okay? He's got a channel right there, Kinganda, right? And you can go in there, maybe it's chickens that you want to look into, or let's say it's the agribusiness, okay? You can go in there, look up all those people that were interviewed, and then start, you know, making a couple of phone calls. You are a few degrees of separation away from actually getting the skinny on the matter. And that's just the beginning of your research. Okay, cool. And then you go back to step one. You get a passport. You get that Revolut card. You start stacking up some money with the skill that you've got, you know, right? And now you got $3,000, and then you buddy up with another person. Okay, and you think, okay, I want to get in this transportation business. But then you have to travel there, including your research, because there's something about we're mammals after all. You got to sense, you got to be comfortable with it, if that makes sense, Bernard, right? Because everything can look clean on paper, but I think it is still good to go down there and shake the hands when the papers are being signed with the presence of the lawyer and the presence of the driver, kind of take in the scenery of, okay, what's the Uber business like in Ghana? You take a couple of Ubers, you look at the transportation, if you get what I'm saying, right? So that is how you do it. Basically, you cannot get away with this opportunity without risk. You cannot get to the gold without it being the frontier, without it being the Wild West, without there, it's going to be a lack of structure, and that's why it's go. It's like let's call it volatility and cryptocurrency, for example. Okay, same question, right? How I get into it's like, yeah, well, you can get in, and you don't have to get in, but you can make big if you play it right. Okay. And by the way, let's say we continue with this transportation business, because I think it's one that anybody can get into, because it's not big amounts of money we're talking in here. Land is also a thing as well. Okay. And you can look into the contract laws and you can ask, well, how do I select land? It's very simple. Look at infrastructure plans. One of my pieces of land is in a place. Number one, I noticed that you're going to see people, the big guys, buying massive chunks of land in the area. So it's like, oh, Dangote and the Minister of Finance and all these other people are buying land there, okay? And also, there's an infrastructure project connecting these countries together, the train road track that is going through there. And then there's this road that's going to pass there. It's going to be completed maybe 5, maybe 10 years. Dude, okay, you cop a piece of that. It's not going to cost you. So we're talking about like $3,000, $2,000 for land, right? You can go look at the square footage and all that kind of stuff, okay? But you get that. And that can be an asset that protects at least that chunk of $2,000 from being eroded away at 8.5%. And it could possibly take that $2,000 to a ridiculous amount. Okay, when I don't know, they find oil there or some kind of crap. Who knows, right? Or so this is the game. There is risk in it. However, there are plugs available to you, especially in this day and age. And I'm gonna go so far as to put my name on it and open this brokerage thing for the transportation stuff, okay, and also for the, hey, you want to find somebody for a particular skill stuff too. So how do you do it? You need a plug. I'm your guy, right?
Yeah, I see. You know what's funny, Ike? Somebody could play gotcha with us, because I remember before when we were doing business streams, we brought up Uber and we kind of poo-pooed it, kind of took a crap on it a little bit. If you remember correctly, and they came for us with pitchforks. Now I make $1,500 a week on Uber, and I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, no, I remember, of course, 100%.
Yeah, we did some research and found out that okay, there's slackers that bring down the average amount that the average driver makes, but then we found out that okay, the people who actually take it serious and run it like a business actually earn a good living. Christian Hutchinson, who sent that super chat, he actually is what you described. If I understood him correctly, he's actually doing that. I don't know if he's doing it in the States or he's doing it in Canada. I don't know which one, but he's essentially doing that. Like he'll buy the car, he'll find the driver. The driver, for whatever reason, probably can't, probably doesn't have the credit, probably doesn't have the ability to get a car that meets the standards. He probably, he's probably driving a hoopty in his personal life, but Christian Hutchinson, he would more or less, use his credit, X amount of dollars for a car. Okay, I got to pay the full coverage insurance. I got to pay the car note, and then the person goes out and drives, and then I collect the $1,500, and then I pay him, and then basically he pays him his cut of it, so to speak, or it's something like that. I probably botched some details, but that's more or less what it is. And you're talking about how to globally, how to basically globally get into that game. So that was really good. We got another super chat coming in, and when somebody like Ike is here with a wealth of knowledge, yes, definitely. This is the time you want to super chat questions. So we got Kezoria. Hopefully I said that right. Says you have lawyers in East and West Africa who can help people buy guaranteed land. Why not? Also, help us decide where to buy land. All right.
I don't know when he dropped the super chat, but I
He just
did. Yeah,
okay.
but I was talking about land. We can get so let's get back into the assets again. So people are asking, okay, the previous super chat asked, well, how do I get in there with the risk? And this guy's saying, okay, specific to land, how do I buy the land? Okay, cool. Saying that I have this lawyer association in East and West Africa. Apparently, he seems to be confident about that, right? That can get me guaranteed the land. Okay, it works. Okay, cool. Now, how do I decide where to buy? Right? I started talking about that by saying, look at the whatever the strategic development plan is in a lot of these countries tends to be on a government level. Infrastructure development tends to be a government plan anyways. So if you go to the any city in the United States, there is a municipal development plan, okay, or general kind of urban master plan, okay, of where they're trying to go and where they're going to build, and we're going to build this park over, blah blah blah, and we're going to try to raise funds, and maybe the funds don't happen through, maybe it takes obviously it costs twice as much and takes twice as long to complete, but there's a plan. They got a plan, okay. So in my example, I can use my example, okay, rather than generalize. I have a few plots of land, one of which is for an apartment complex. Hence, I looked at, okay, where can I get land right now where, okay, African Americans are moving to Ghana, right? There was that whole year of the return thing. And generally the diaspora is kind of generally attracted to Ghana. Ghana is fairly stable and peaceful. That's a key thing, and why I keep mentioning it, for example. Okay, so it's not just randomly. Stable, peaceful, relatively economically sound, if you will, has a decent infrastructure. It's not like Nigeria where they're constantly, taking the power from you and everybody needs to have a generator, right? So in that kind of a situation in Ghana, where are people gonna want to spread out to and live cheaper, because Accra is crazy expensive. So you look at, let's say, draw concentric circles around Accra. We know how all urban sprawl happens. Let's say, for example, you can look at the history of Los Angeles. We know how these things tend to spread. So you go out there, maybe you're not on the first or second ring, you go out to the third or fourth ring, depending on how much money you have, right? And these rings represent how much time it's going to take for the development to get there, or will the development get there, right? So you go out to the third ring, you're like, okay, I think that in about 5 years, this is going to be prime spot. I get the land, I do the planning for it. In about 2.5 years, maybe I'm ready with a plan, with a permit that says, yes, you're able to build this structure at this place. That's one level of choosing, okay, for building a project. Okay. And by the way, when you own the land and then you build the project, which is relatively cheaper to do than over here in the United States, okay, because the labor costs for skills tradesmen in the United States is high, right? Especially when you're dealing with unions. So I may be saying things like, oh, build a building. And people are like, whoa, I ain't got that kind of money, Ike. But it's not the kind of money you may think it is. And it doesn't have to happen in 2 minutes, as I said. You're like, okay, in 5 years is where development is going to get to this spot. I'm getting the land right now, okay, and then I'm going to get the plan and get the permits and all those other kinds of things. And once you get off the foundation, building with concrete masonry, which is what they do over there, okay, it's not a seismic zone, ain't nothing crazy going on, but building with concrete masonry, once you get beyond the foundation, is super easy, okay? And that's one way. The other way was the infrastructure way that I said, in terms of looking at where infrastructure is getting developed. Because my other piece of land is where the railroad track that's going to tie Ghana and Nigeria and certain other countries together, and there's another road that's intersecting that area. Development is going towards that direction, and I see that the people whom are robbing the country and have all the money have already bought land there. Okay, so it's kind of like, okay, you're putting 2 and 2 together in this regard. So I hope that helps to answer Kaizoria's question.
All right. Osama Abdu in the building with the super chat. He says, Ike is very intelligent. However, oh my goodness. Okay. Really, Osama Abdu? That. Okay. He says, Ike is very intelligent. However, he's out of touch with actual economics when it comes to 98% of the population in the U.S. Ike, I'm working now, but would love to have a respectable debate / convo sometime.
Always. And by the way, this is very welcome, right? In the sense that, because what he brings up is a reality. on many levels. So on one level, you could say, look, Ike, because I'm not the one bringing it up, right? So he brought it up, so it's okay for me to kind of talk about my position, where I'm at, and why I'm out of touch, right? So
Yeah.
you're like, hey, dude, you're like, hey, bro, how much did you earn last year? You're like the 1% of the 1% of the 1% globally, and in the United States, you're 1%. Blah blah blah. You're talking about making these moves. People are talking about buying gasoline. So
Yeah.
he's 100% correct. However, it's not a however. No, he's 100% correct. And as a result of his correctness, there are ways of sidestepping that train that I was talking about. I say,
Yeah.
the level we got to, we didn't announce, but we got there. Where now we're talking about riding the train earlier. Now, I mean, a few steps ago, we were talking about riding the train with all this select land over there, and you do this and you do that. Well, we went a bit far, right? But on the level of, I just need to protect my asset, right? Which is my dollar, let's say, and my labor. $2,000 is not a crazy amount of money for somebody to scrounge up over a certain amount of time. I've been a broke student. I've worked and saved money and stuff like that, and end up spending it on stupid stuff. Like, I was right after college, saved up some money and I got a Cadillac. But I was dumb.
Right.
And I was like, throw some D's on that bitch, just So, but you can get that amount. The point is, the train is gonna crush. It's coming regardless. Okay. Is it better to say, hey, you know what? I can't get in this asset game, and I'm just gonna let it happen, or I'm gonna try for a political solution, which is one way, right? You could vote for Andrew Yang and try to get universal basic income or certain other kinds of things like that. There's no reason why you can't do all of that while still saying, okay, cool, this $2,000 is worth a lot more somewhere in the world if I can get in the asset game some way, somehow in the world. Okay.
Well, that was part of the reason why I asked you the question about skills, because what he's referring to is people who are just in a situation where I'm not able to get in this game. And this goes back to something that me and Christian Hutchinson was talking about. For those that don't know, I mean, the man has a net worth of around $3 million. And one important part of getting in the game is that, yeah, you do have to have some established income. You don't have to be rich. But you have to have a skill, a marketable skill that can pay well, that can pay decent, that can pay above average. Once you get to that point to where you have a skill that can make you a nice, a nice salary you could more or less be proud of, then you can do more things with the money. So I think
let's stay on here for a little bit longer in terms of I don't know if you or unless you were trying to land the plane elsewhere right now. But
well, no, go ahead.
We stay here a little bit longer because I think that there's some general principles. Okay, now to also kind of do an elitist thing again is, generally speaking, if somebody, someone is riding on that train, right? There's some things that they've learned that they can kind of show you with regards to, let's say, managing money that apply regardless of what level you're at. Okay. So if again we go into this thing of, you just mentioned the skill thing, which is in the United States especially. So in the West, you have certain advantages, and we're talking to men in the West. I say modern men in the West need to do these 4 things. Number 1, get a passport. Number 2, get a Revolut card. Number 3, research assets, investment, and global market type stuff. And then number 4, travel to the place. Okay. And then get involved, because you're going to need that for the asset type stuff. But let's go back to the guy that just, okay, cool, I'm going to get a skill. In the West is where you get the skill. You don't go out into the
right.
You don't go out over there to try to get the skill. It's expensive over there. Okay, over here it's cheap. Community college, I don't know, $20 a unit, or in San Francisco, community college is free. Okay, so you go out there, you grab that skill. Great advantage that you have over here in the United States. And let's say you don't even get the certification where you're now setting up a business which you're going to be able to take out into the marketplace globally, and maybe you're selling globally or you're using labor globally, but you're just on that, I'm going to scrounge up $2,000 every year and a half or so, or every year. I don't know what it may, what is, let's say you get that skill and you're getting $50,000 to $60,000 a year. If you and a couple of your buddies, okay, 3 of you get together, you can buy that one car, right? $6,000 I was talking about, okay? And you can begin immediately to be in a business, because look, this is not a get rich quick, okay? This is not a get rich at all, as a matter of fact, okay? This is I want to gather up money, turn it into assets that are protected, that are not getting eaten away at 8.5%, right? Which will happen whether or not you are 98% or 1%. But basically what the 1% is doing is they put their money in the assets, and the assets keeps inflating and inflating and inflating, and they keep getting richer and richer and richer. And the people who own cash, whom is the lower 50%, are getting poorer and poorer and poorer, right? As a result of the Feds printing it and all that kind of backwards inflation, which is like a backwards tax on the poor. Because here's the okie doke. It's kind of, let's just stop here for the okie doke. Basically, a couple of years ago, right, the government prints a whole bunch of money and gives it to poor people. Well, let me not call them poor. Now I sound like a total.
You're such an elitist global citizen that it's getting.
yeah. But basically, they're gonna print money and they're gonna give it to the people. Okay. Well, you know what happens 2 years later? All that money goes away from the people and goes into the assets of the rich. Because when you print, the inflation of assets will happen. So it's just like, it's literally 2 years ago, right? 2020, we were talking about all this printing, and we said, inflation is going to hit, okay? And who gets the benefit of inflation? It's people who own the assets. So the same elites print the money, give it to people, but all that money is just going to get leaked away back to them, and also increasing the value of their assets. But anyways, so back to the 3 guys, $2,000 each. They got one car, okay? And in 150 weeks, okay, which you're getting weekly payments, okay, you have $8,000 back. In other words, the money paid for the insurance, it paid for the registration, and the way I set it up is you also replace the engine of the car when it's time to hand the car over to the worker, the driver. Now, this is a way of sweetening the deal for the worker. You want the guy including the fact that they've been vetted, okay? You also want them to see a light at the end of the tunnel, where it's like, you know what? You drive this car and you're paying for the car, because you're the bank in this case. You're not like owning the car and then just you're paying the money and they're doing Uber. It's like, no, you're the bank. It's their car. But after that, after the 150 weeks, they get a new engine in that car, right? So that makes it nice for them. It's like, cool, I get this car, and then boom, now I have a car of my own. I've been able to earn money, send it back to this person, blah, blah, blah. The engine is taken care of by your cash flow. So the golden rule in business, when cash flow covers debt service and expenses and all these other kinds of things, that's the beautiful thing, right? So cash flow is covering the insurance and the registration, and cash flow is covering the replacement of the engine, and you get $8,000, okay? So now you and your 3 buddies got $8,000 back, okay, in that period. You guys can be like, hey, let's throw in another $4,000 in that $8,000. Now we got $12,000, and let's buy 2 cars, right? And let's go another 3-year cycle. This again is, you are just a regular person. You haven't earned more money. Okay, you haven't earned more than $50,000, right? You're just there. You got that skill. That's where you are. You know, it's tough and it's rough. But you and your buddies are able to do this game where after the next 3 years, you're going to end up with $16,000. Okay, because from 12,000, and it was again automatic cash flowing and paying for the insurance and pay for. You don't have to do anything. Okay, the money comes back again, and now you can. You get the picture, okay? You get the picture. Compounding starts to happen at that point. And you, just a regular person in 6 years, you amongst your 3 friends, now can have some money, some asset. And maybe now you want to pivot into the land business, because in doing a lot of business in the transportation industry in that country, you've learned a bit about, you spotting that piece of, you get the picture, right? So this is how a regular person, okay, in, the 98% can actually participate in this.
Yeah, and also, and I do want to make it clear, when I was talking about skills, I was talking about basic skills that can make somebody go from, making $50,000 a year to now $75,000 or $80,000 a year. That type of increase in income will give you more flexibility for what Ike is talking about. So and that's why I use the term to get in the game. I don't think you got to be a top 1%er to get in the game. I wasn't implying that at all. You could be, you could be right in the middle of the pack and still get in the game, but you just got a little more flexibility if you can, just get in the third the top third. When you get in the top third, you have more flexibility than what you do if you don't have any skills. So that's why I'm saying just increase the cash flow and everything that's coming in. But where I do want to transition it to, you got on here, it says and maybe we kind of touched on this, but I don't know if you want to say anything else about researching international assets, business, and markets. I don't know if you want to say anything else on that.
Oh, yeah. So that is more or less what we were dealing with, and that's item number 3, right? Before you actually,
that was item number 3. We kind of stumbled into it, but I don't know if you want to put a final bow or button on it, but go ahead.
Yeah, let's put a few practical things on it.
Yeah.
We are right now on YouTube, right? So a good place to start is to say, well, you can start your research on YouTube. Okay. So
yeah,
surface level research on YouTube, you can go to this guy called Nomad Capitalist. That's the channel, right? I don't know if you know Nomad Capitalist channel, for example. Okay.
No.
But rather than being, one of these, oh, I'm a laptop bro, it's a lifestyle type of guy, that BS. Like, we're not in for the, I live, a free life, I'm international. Like, get the hell out of here, okay? He's just here to tell you, look, over here in Georgia, this is the current interest rate that you can get. And this is how you get into the banking system in Georgia. You need to check these 3 boxes. And over here in this other place for example, that's how I know that the Chinese are going to build a new kind of Macau, a new, shall we say, gambling center, a new Vegas, right? Somewhere in Southeast, in I believe it's Indonesia. Now, I'm not in that game. I'm not going to buy land there, but that's kind of how I knew about that, for example. So starting with a channel such as a Global Capitalist is a good place to kind of look into it. Now, also, you can look into, let's say, the transportation business that I mentioned in Ghana. And besides Uber, how about if I just do regular taxi, right? Because there's a difference between the two. Regular taxi, they paint it differently, and then you can make money from that too. But Uber tracks the information, right? And Uber, this is a result of me doing research and then going into the business. So I'm giving you like okay, here's some background research that I did. You can pick taxi or Uber, okay? But Uber is more regulated in the sense that it's going to know how, typically or generally speaking, how long the trips are going to be. And it'll, because of it's a software, right? It's going to more or less guarantee that there's not a lot of crazy wastes of time and gasoline. Also, ultimately, here's the real reason. Uber, so they don't make excuses to you, right? Because Uber keeps track of the thing, right? Because because if it's a taxi, they're like, oh, brother, I went to the, what, all that crap. You know what's coming. Okay, you know what's coming. So Uber, that is why I use Uber. And then I've mentioned also, if you're looking at land, you look at development plans. Either development plans that are either by Chinese government, by the government of a local situation, municipal plans, or private plans by people who are going to build something somewhere, and then you just use that to get a piece of land. But ultimately, when it comes down to, well, what can I get into without having a business? Because the first thing I did was just had a business that then I could hire international employees. That's kind of like my first taste of that kind of, again, that arbitrage, that advantage that you have, a competitive advantage against other engineering businesses out here in San Francisco, even though everybody does it, by the way. Everybody has an engineering sweatshop somewhere. You just picture a bunch of people hunkered over doing calculations with a guy with a whip behind. So everyone has an engineering sweatshop somewhere, to kind of off-gas excess, to get work done. So there is no choice in that front as well, in terms of you have to do it or not. Now, here's another thing I could say. Beyond the level of practicality, where it just kind of seems like some kind of business-minded or engineering-minded, or, here's how I'm going to take advantage of something. Beyond that level, okay, and beyond the level of just fear-mongering, there's another level, which is like, I would like to put it like the hero's journey level. Because, again, it is whatever the bad guy is that you envision, okay? They were the ones that showed up in the ships at your shores with steel guns, gunpowder, and all that kind of stuff. And they said, modernize or die, right? And then it is a heroic thing for a nation. It may be China, it may even be the Soviet Union, because they took a few licks and then they came back. They did how they call them what you want, right? And Stalin killed a whole bunch of people, but they were answering that call. They were like, no, we gotta actually build tanks and build all these things, otherwise we're done, right? The Japan had to do it as well. So in our day, this is the modern call to us, okay, as shall we say minority men with a particular kind of autonomy and identity to protect. The call is, well, are you going to globalize or are you going to die, right? So there is a kind of like, F y'all, I'm going to do it. I'm going to participate in this stuff in whichever way, wherever way I can. I'm not going to be left to be, swept in the dustbin of history and colonized that kind of a way. So that's a third reason, I'll put, a little bit of some spiritual zest in there, some kind of like fight the power is also built in there, right?
Right. Indigenous TV in the building. He says, peace, Bernard. Shout out to Ike, who was high value and suited up before it became a trend in this space. Cocaine white suit with the black tie. Shout out to you. Appreciate you. Super chat, Indigenous TV. Do appreciate you coming on through. And yeah, I definitely be definitely a sharp dress brother out here. so shout out to you. Appreciate the super chat. Let's get into, all right, number four on the list. It says travel and establish a connection in the international market. And again, I think we kind of spoke on that one, but I'm sure you could probably want to add a little more on it.
Add a little more on the traveling part. Okay, first we got that passport. The passport was, hey, I admit I believe in steel. I believe in globalization. I believe in the fact that globalization is the spread of technology. I believe that it does have an internal logic of its own, and you're not going to stop the spread of technology, and you're not going to stop the incentives such as, the market arbitrage, the market advantages that corporations and people have. So you're not going to stop this thing, okay?
Yeah.
But then on this other end is, okay, now I'm actually going to take this step to travel. And that's why I put it as number 4, because you don't have to do that, just immediately, right? Off rip. But this changes you internally. Now start from there before we go to the external part, okay? We touched on the internal part a little bit when we were talking about you just admitting and seeing yourself as a global citizen, right? But when you actually then land somewhere else, notice how people are different, okay? And we could talk about the deregulated marketplace, okay? And how maybe, look, sometimes, as they say, even Jesus had to leave, his hometown to be respected, right? Prophets never respected in their own home. We know all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the modern world, which has pulled the rug out of the average person. What I mean by that, pull the rug from under the average person. The scaffolding that tells you this is your role, you're a man, this is the respect that you get for doing these things. That doesn't exist anymore. No one's going to necessarily give you honor or bestow respect on you for saying, remember that term, he's a family man.
Yeah.
That used to be like, he's a... So we know where that came from. That came from a time when that was an honorable thing to do, it was a role that you play, and you're the family man in the village, and that gives you respect. Now nobody cares what the hell you are. We're living in that postmodern time where the rug has been pulled out from under us with regards to meaning, okay? Not to get all Petersonian with you, but this is why Jordan Peterson filled up these auditoriums with men looking for meaning, pain, sitting down quietly and listening to somebody talk about the Bible, okay? It's because, hey, the scaffolding got pulled out from under us. So where do you find your value? Okay, you need to find your value by going internationally and seeing what people value you for. Okay, now it may sound like what kind of crazy psychological backflip did you just do there, Ike? What are you talking about? I need to find my value, so I'm gonna need to It's simple. Yeah, you need to sample and compare and see, well, what do people value out there in Macau, in Brazil, or in all these different cultures? Some of these cultures will still have more intact the scaffolding, which I was talking about, the value systems and whatnot. So that changes your perspective as a human being, as a man, such that when you come back to the United States, quote unquote, you know your worth. Okay. Now all this sounds like you go girl, you're worth it, sis. You've always been enough.
Yeah.
It all sounds like it, okay? But yeah, I am saying, look, a little bit of that self-esteem does get greatly increased when you expand from the box that you were in, where everybody's been telling you that you ain't shit, right? It's necessary, especially for a group of men whom have a particular issue with everybody around them telling them they ain't shit. Maybe it's white supremacy telling you ain't shit, or maybe it's some women telling you ain't shit, right? For a group of men that have that kind of situation in their immediate vicinity, getting the hell out of there and seeing something else helps a lot internally. So that's the internal reason to travel. The external reasons, I think we've already kind of talked about too before. And by the way, I'm going to be dropping a book. Okay, I think
this is new information here. New information.
Yeah, you heard it here first. You guys are here. You guys hung in there. You guys super chatted. You guys have clicked the like button. You guys have subscribed to my channel and all that good stuff. But basically, putting a book together, right? Working title is Master Your Subjective Consciousness. Now that's just a working title. It's going to change to something more. Like what the hell does that mean? But it's going to be.
You can go with that. You can go with that.
Okay, yeah, I'll be right there with next to Deepak Chopra. You know.
Yeah.
I'll be competing. Right? I'm going for gusto. So the book basically starts to talk about these things which we're talking about here. In other words, what's the background set of conditions that pose problems for men? Okay, we talked about the fact that in this postmodern time, there's globalization. Also, there is the pulling out of the rug in terms of the scaffolding and stuff. There's people all around you telling you ain't shit. There's people giving boys Ritalin in school and then giving you spiritual Ritalin out there in the world, telling you why you shouldn't, why you are the problem, why your nature is the problem, why toxic masculinity is a problem. All that kind of stuff going on. So, okay, what are you to do, right, in this kind of a situation? Because to deny it, to be like, oh, this doesn't exist, that's BS. No, it does exist. Okay, suicide is going up. And again, Jordan Peterson is a great kind of little test case for everybody to see. Like, why, what the hell? Why are all these guys paying all this money for this kind of stuff? Okay, cool. So what is to be done? The outside map is messed up. So basically, my basic proposition is you need to create the internal map. Okay. And part of creating that internal map is, okay, well, what is valuable to me, or how am I to be valued? Okay. That's why I brought it in, because we're talking about traveling to see how other people value and what they value and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So the external map in the West has been completely distorted and crazy. I think, especially in this space, no one's going to give me any pushback on that. It's all ass backwards out there. Okay. So in order for people to have meaning, which they need, in order for people to have a certain sense of the worthwhileness of life and peace, which they need to have some kind of map. The external map, broken. So you need to create your internal map. That's the basic first step of the book, hence Master Your Subjective Consciousness, which is basically, look, the map out there is crazy. What are some basic things that we can pick up internally in terms of founding ourselves, almost, right? Refounding ourselves so that we can deal with this modern landscape. Now, and it's not going to be all crazy theoretical. It's going to be simple, just the way I described it, okay? Things are changing. We can list all the things that they're changing around us and the ways in which they affect us. Okay, external information is missing. How do you go back internally and build to the extent that you can, right? But I'll be dropping that probably in June as well, okay? Master Your Subjective Consciousness, breakdown of how a modern man lives within the postmodern landscape.
I don't know if you put 1 and 2 together on this, but if you're dropping it in June, that's around the same time as the Mumia Obsidian Ali Experience.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
You may be there with a book that, you know, you signing autographs on your book, you know, after you give your speech out there. You know, I don't know if you put that together like that, but
I don't know. It was an interesting coincidence there. But no, but again, Mr. Riley has been playing the commercial. He played it definitely today. I saw it for the Mumia Obsidian Ali Experience in Philadelphia, right? In Philly. Never been there. Glad to be going there for the first time. And yes, I will be there. And a lot of the things we could talk about today, when the website will be released at that point, so we can talk about, again, how you and your buddies can put that $6,000 together and begin to flip to $12,000 and then to $16,000 and then on and on. We're protecting those assets because what else is going to happen? Because there are different lanes of money, okay? And we're not talking about the get rich quick lane or the I want to gamble lane. That's your lottery money or your maybe crypto money or something like that. There's another lane is, okay, this is the money for my retirement. I'm putting this into my 401k. That's another lane. I'm talking about this intermediate lane where you want to be able to just keep value for your hard work because inflation is eating it away otherwise. Because if you don't get in the asset game, you're losing otherwise. So if the globalization is coming like a train to kind of take you out. But the good thing also is because of technology, you can also participate in it such that you can now also protect those assets. Okay. So that's kind of like the overarching thing on this. But on that stage that day, okay, in Philadelphia in June, I'm going to be elaborating more on this idea of, hey, the call for you actually is to globalize or die. And here's how I've been doing it. Here's how I can help. And here's how you can do it too.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. That, right there, that was the time for you. I don't have the capabilities, but that was the time for you to drop the applause right there. Y'all know you got it.
There you go. I should get my theatrics correctly. We got another super chat in the building.
That's from Woke Quill. He says, any advice on looking for land? Okay, he talked about that earlier, but I guess he could retouch on it again. He said, any advice for looking for land / homes abroad? I'm looking towards Rwanda or Kenya.
Okay,
thoughts on that, Ike?
Now, Kaizoria, who mentioned earlier about the lawyers in East and West Africa, I actually can connect you with that group. I actually know whom that person is, as a matter of fact. But you can hit me up, and I can hook you up with this the people whom can guarantee. Because basically, a big part of this is you want to look at the legal structure, and you want to know, well, what will be legally enforced? What can I do? What are the rules? Because a lot of times you can't buy land; you can only lease, right? And anyone who's looking into international land may have noticed that if you're not a citizen in certain places, you can only lease. Like you can be like 100-year lease or something like that. Okay, so you look into that. That's number one. Can a non-citizen actually own? Okay, not just buy. That's how they trick you. Okay, but own land, and then you get into the subtleties of how the lease works. Number two, this is where these lawyers come in. Is the land actually in the person's name, not just their last name, because that tends to happen. See, in these freaking countries, let's say, East Africa, he's talking about, like I said, Kenya, right? In all these African countries, you have family land, okay? And, it's the guy, it's in his uncle's name, okay? And you're talking to this guy, it's in his uncle's name, but, he's talking to you like it's his land. Maybe it is kind of his land, but it's in his uncle's name. You don't want to get into that. You know what I mean? Like, it may be true, maybe but just don't get in the middle of, the land is in my uncle's name. And you're not going to find out that until the papers start work. It's time to close things. And that may cause you trouble. So you want to get that up front. You want to get that information up front. And that's where these lawyers that Mr. Kaizoria was talking about. In other words, email me, okay, specifically, and I'll get you in touch with this group with regards to figuring out the legalities. Can a foreigner own land? If not, well, what's the lease stuff? How is the law in terms of enforcement of these? Okay, and if the foreigner cannot own land, can I, for example, like in my case, I'm going to create a corporation, okay, and you can create a corporation with a with a local in the board. Right? You see where I'm going with this? Okay, this works in certain countries, like let's say in Nigeria, you create a corporation with a local in the board, and then that corporation, that LLC, that whatever, okay, buys the land. Okay, all these kinds of arrangements, things you need to be very clear about, because otherwise it's quite straightforward. You're like, okay, land costs. When you look at the price of land in some of these places, you're like, the economic decision is kind of clear. You're like, oh crap, it's that cheap, right? So that part is easy. You're like, oh crap, it's that cheap. Then now you gotta sit down. Can I own? What are the terms of the lease? Or can I form a corporation and then buy it? Whom actually owns the land? Is there somebody's uncle whose name is it in? And by the way, let me drop another little thing for you, which I'm doing. This is addresses are a big problem in Africa. Okay, as you can imagine. Maybe you can't imagine. You guys grew
No,
up
I
in the
can't.
West.
No, I can't.
You can't imagine, right? Like
addresses are a problem in Africa. Explain that
yeah,
when
it's like
I
basically there's something called Google Maps, right? Where any corner of the United States you can pretty much map it out for the most part. Now there are places in the United States where bumfuck Mississippi, middle of nowhere, where maybe it's a little not so mapped out. But basically, what I'm saying is that
the
things are
majority of
not
Africa is bumfucked.
in terms of address. You're like, okay, this road and that particular number. Now there are numbers on them, but is there some general registry that recognizes this particular building as being number XYZ this street? Or is it just kind of so that's a huge issue.
Just call it a shithole and get it over with.
It's a shithole. It's a shithole problem. Now, you see though, that's an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So because look, people they still got to get their Uber services. They still got to get delivery, which is big in Africa. Okay, people are delivering food and all these other kinds of things. Amazon needs to kind of get in there and encroach, and Alibaba wants to sell crap. Okay, so all of them together have this land location problem. Okay, the reason this came up because I was thinking about deeds and title deeds and records. Okay, so when you're buying the land, that's one thing, but also let's just keep talking about this address problem and the solution to it. So how about if you use NFTs? You know enough, ladies and gentlemen, I assume, about the crypto space, about the blockchain. So if I say NFT, Bernard, NFT, which is this non-fungible token, which is a unique identity out there in cyberspace. Okay, an NFT is like it's like saying, hey, this thing is a unique thing in physical space, right? It is what it is. It can't, it is what it is. I have the original. I have the original Mona Lisa. I have the original Eiffel Tower in physical space. NFT does the same kind of thing in digital space where something can be unique, right? So basically connecting or using the blockchain as a way of solving the address problem, okay, is something that I'm working with, okay? Again, the same company, Kaisari, working with some people in order to solve that problem. Now, that's like the $1 billion idea, okay?
I was just about to say, you're trying to get rich off of that one.
Yeah, that's like if it works, then yeah, But so that's like the long shot. As I said, there are many lanes for money. Okay, you gotta have your revolving. What everybody knows the revolving payments, right? What you call your monthly nut, right? That's one lane of money. And the rule about that lane, by the way, is keep it low. That's the only rule about your monthly. Like just keep it low. And by the way, it's not because you don't look. I like fancy stuff. Okay, so I may stay at this fancy hotel and all this kind of stuff, but I don't have to stay there forever. I'm not obligated to. My monthly nut is actually relatively low, right? I'm not staying in some penthouse in the middle of San Francisco. That'd be stupid, So like, okay, given my situation, where can I work from? Where do I actually have to be? Okay, cool. I'm gonna go over to this part of the bay, over there in the hills, in the woods. I don't need to be in the middle of anywhere. So get a point there. So that's the rule with the monthly nut. The monthly nut is keep it low. And then you go from there to how do I protect my assets, which is the level that I was talking about earlier. You get $2,000 together, 3 of your buddies, you get a car. You get into the international game. And then there is the looking to solve a big problem in these markets. Okay, which is this is big riding the train now, right? You're actually not trying to go and be like an Apple or something like that. Not quite, not that many billions, but there are many problems on the ground that can be solved through this low cost, let's call it IT way of doing things. And you don't have to be a programmer. You could just be like the idea person for the app. Okay. Because let's put like some low hanging fruit, which maybe already been starting to get plucked already, which is there needs to be an Uber in Zimbabwe, for example. Is it already there? Probably not there. Uber's not everywhere already, by the way. Uber's in Ghana, for example, but it's not everywhere. But the point being, can you start an Uber? Okay. Is it such a crazy idea? What does it entail and all that kind of stuff? So that's that level of money where that's the reach, that's the Hail Mary pass, that's the generational wealth. That's put me in, coach.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's huge. You got huge ideas. I definitely definitely like where you're going and like where you're taking things. And like I said, it's gonna definitely be a pleasure to to meet you in person at the MOA experience. And hopefully you have an actual physical copy of your book there that I could purchase and you could sign it. You know, so
That'll
someday when you
be
go ahead.
Yeah, that'll be great, and I look forward to doing that. I look forward to both meeting and having this conference, and also having the book ready. Okay, now that is the plan. It'll be, or if not, I was saying your personal signed copy. I think Obsidian
Gotcha.
has taught me that. For Cash App, no, you don't have to Cash App. I wonder how many. Anyway, let me not put all his business out there. I was going to say something about the IRS and how many Cash Apps he got that in the book sales that we're not.
Yeah.
Anyways.
No, I sent him the link because we're about to wrap this up pretty soon. But I did send him the link like 20 minutes ago. If you wanted to come up and talk about the Mumia Obsidian Ali Experience, I was going to send him the link for it. I don't know if he got it, so we're probably going to wrap this on up. I didn't want this to be a long one. Just basically wanted to talk about those things, the 4 things brothers or modern men in general need to do to not get ran over by this train of globalization. And yeah, we definitely touched on that. You definitely put a lot of good information on the table, and I can't wait for the Mumia Obsidian Ali Experience, where you're really lay it out, really break it down, and like you are seeing, at least the people you should be seeing in the chat room, that the links to the event, how you could purchase tickets to the event, and how you could be there. So make sure that you go ahead and do that. Make sure that you do that. And I think I did see a few people dropping a link for that. Let's put that link in the chat room one last time, and make sure we get Ike's links to his channel in the chat room before we get out of here. Let's make sure we dot the I's and cross the T's. Put that link in the chat room. I'm looking for it. There it is. RM always Johnny on the spot with it. So yeah, make sure you click those links, and we'll go from there. And wrapping things up, Ike, any final words, closing thoughts you want to leave with us before we get out of here?
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you, Bernard. Yeah. Thank you to the chat. Thank you. It was actually, you guys actually participated, asked questions, super chatted, and it seems like we've gotten, because again, you got to admit, it was a pretty dry topic. It's like, hey, here are 4 things you got to do. Is globalization. The training's going to get you. You got to get blah, 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 maneuvers. Seemingly quite technical. So I'm glad for the engagement, given the kind of topic that it was.
Now, I think we made it fun. It's having you on the big screen. That's what did it. That made it work. I finally got this to work.
Yeah, you're gonna have I don't know, maybe you're gonna have a weather girl soon, but anyway, that's you have somebody walking by, you have a bigger screen, she walks by, and anyways.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. And let me work backwards here. Someone asked in the chat about the NFT tying it to longitude and latitude. That is the idea, yes. Longitude and latitude, tie it down. That then gets tied to the deed of the land. And then also, look, there are many other levels to this whereby, Uber can sign up to this service, okay? And then they can have these particular nodes on their map too. Or other, anyways, the idea is big. There are many other ideas. Again, I'm working backwards here. I'm working from the big ideas, okay? There are many other problems in Frontiersville, in the place where there's a lot of opportunity. In the Wild West, let's say, okay? Many problems. Many problems means many opportunities to make money. So that's on the biggest level. If you take it down on another level where you just have a business and you're trying to protect your assets, so you're trying to get a competitive advantage in the market, you want to go out there and find people that are skilled, maybe in accounting or program writing, or an engineer, mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer, because you're an electrician and you're expanding your business, and now you need this electrical engineer and drafts people, and rather than pay those greedy, good-for-nothing Americans, no shade to y'all, you give some lady in Budapest some money, and she's a great, there's great talent out there, dude, in the world. People are hungry, and they'll do the hell out of that work for you if you keep those dollars coming in, and you'll be saving a lot of dollars by doing that. And then we talked about a level below that, whereby, hey, look, I just want to gather $2,000 with 3 of my friends, $2,000 each, get in the transportation business, start cash flowing, start protecting my assets so that it don't get eaten away by 8.5% every year inflation. Okay, that's a way that somebody who's making only 60 or 50 can actually get in the game. So again, globalization is coming for you. It's globalize or die. And then hence, you need to do these 4 things. Get that passport. Get in the international money game by getting a Revolut card, for example, and then go out there and start researching opportunities to do one of these things which we mentioned earlier, opportunities to get the land, opportunities to hire internationally, opportunities to get into things like shall we say, the transportation business, which, by the way, I'll be having a brokerage for in a website coming soon. Okay. And then number 4, you have to put your feet on the ground if you actually want to get to that level of buying an asset such as land or building things like that. And this way, okay, you can actually have children and grandchildren and not have to worry about the whole freaking thing falling down on you, because you're seeing you just it's a way of opening. Like I said before, it's not that you're not a slave anymore, bro. We're all slaves. We're all in the matrix. But now you can at least, you can see some sunshine. It's all about degrees of freedom, okay? Degrees of mobility, and trying to open as much as possible for yourself, right? Why give up and say, look, we're all chained anyway, so I'm not going to try to extend the length of my chain. That's what we're basically trying to do. We need to do these 4 things. It's globalize or die. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. We got, who do we got here? We got Taboo Smash in the building, and we'll try to briefly get an answer to this one in before we wrap. We've been wrapping up for like the last 15 minutes, it seems. He said Taboo Smash in the building. He said Taboo Smash says, do you need to have your affair in order first in the US before starting see thing, and I think he means starting to see things in a global set, like starting having assets in the US. Thank you for the super chat. Go ahead.
Yeah. So now depends on how much order you're looking for in your affairs before you actually then go launch things. Okay. Now, if you don't have skills, let's say, and you got 2 hoes pregnant, okay. And look,
I didn't expect that. I didn't see that one coming.
Let's get right into it, right? I mean, this is the manosphere. We know how we know how lives get messed up, how men's lives get messed up. So if you've done that, okay, well, it's a bit of a disadvantage, but you don't have to, wait till the kids are 18 or something like that. You can start from there to get the skill. But the point is, all you need from the West, from the United States, is to be able to get a skill. If you can keep your life stable enough, okay, because you got to be at least stable to go to that community college, get that electrician stuff, and then start working and then get a certification. So you got to have, stable enough, okay? You're still dealing with the 2 baby mamas and paying child support, whatever, maybe, okay? So that is, for me, is stable enough, affairs in order enough, and then you can start looking into doing things internationally, right? So I don't believe in being ready, okay? I don't believe in being ready. I think if you think, okay, wait until I'm ready, it's already too late. You always got to be there a little bit before you're ready. And it's scary, okay? And that's why, I always preach that, look, the main thing to battle or deal with in just as a man that needs to build, okay, and expand is anxiety. That's the main thing. The anxiety of, am I ready? Should I put my toe in? So that's the main battle. Every day you're waking up like, can I expand? Can I put my toe in? Can I actually close this deal? Will I actually succeed in this new venture? Okay, and you just keep pushing step by step by step. So you're never going to be ready, but don't be having a whole bunch of baby mamas.
Right on. Amen to that one. Shout out to Woke Quill, says more conversations like Bernard. I think I mean more conversations like this, Bernard. This is great. Thank you for the super chat, dude. Appreciate that. Also, Taboo Smash in the building says, okay, we keep trying to close the show and he keeps asking good questions. Okay.
Yeah,
how do you
ones,
deal with taxes for international businesses? Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that.
So the nitty gritty like that, when I launch the website, I'm going to get more specific information. Obviously, I have a channel, so I'm going to have like videos that kind of lead into like, okay, here's the legalities. Here's what the contract looks like for the car. And then here what the tax implications look like for the car. Here's the kind of corporate structure you actually have to have, blah, blah, blah. Here are the options and things of that nature. Now, going to, again, Nomad Capitalists, type in Nomad Capitalist, Andrew Henderson has a good channel on this, and you can start to look at all the tax implications and some places, okay, you're like, okay, if you are a resident, meaning you have to get a certain kind of, You have to go through some kind of immigration type stuff, paperwork. That's why the first thing is paperwork. Is that passports, residencies, and all that kind of stuff, and then you can get into the tax game. The United States, no matter where you are in the world, always wants to tax you, and they're one of the only countries that actually do that, where it's hard to escape taxes completely. But you can by just having an LLC. That's the beginning. So guess what? All these okay. I don't want to say too much, okay, but there are ways of the things that you're allowed to write off.
Don't incriminate yourself.
I'm not incriminating myself, but basically there are so many ways of avoiding taxes, which is not a bad thing. Evasion is the bad thing, right? Tax evasion is bad. Tax avoidance is not bad. And the first step is to get an LLC.
In the name of Donald Trump, I mean, in the words of Donald Trump, I should say, it's called being smart.
It's called being smart.
When Hillary Clinton charged him up, with not paying taxes or whatever, it's called being smart. I'm just smart. Yes. That's why I know. But anyway,
yeah. It's there's so many things. Well, the first step though is so corporate personhood, that's what it's called, right? That means there's this other person that you can be. Think about it that way. Everyone in the United States has a right to be not one, but multiple other people's LLCs, right? Let's say, or any other kind of corporation. And it's a person. That's corp, as we all know, a corpus, right? That means person, a corpse, for example, right? So corporate personhood, that's an actual, you're not being another person. Okay, that's what it means. That's why we know when Mitt Romney says corporations are people. Anyways, so you have to think and stop and think like, well, why does that exist? And why am I not part of that? Like, how come I'm just one person, in the United States when I can do, you say, okay, if I have an LLC, I can be this other type of person with regards to how the United States treats me and my taxes and how I do my business. Okay. So everybody needs to look at taking advantage of these other persons that you can be vis-a-vis LLC. And that's where you start taking advantage of the tax avoidance.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. As we're getting out of here, shout out to I saw something funny in the chat room. Hold on, where is it? Is that it? I don't know if that is it. Yeah, okay. RM, when she puts a little emoji that's supposed to represent me, she puts the darker emoji of a guy with the beard. She used one for you, and she put up the little beige emoji bearded guy that's supposed to represent you.
Yep,
that was funny.
It's not a bad representation.
Yeah, not bad. It's just funny that she was conscious to switch it up. Go from. All right. Enough of that. Jackie Jack in the building with the super sticker. Thank you very much, Jackie Jack. I definitely appreciate you. Appreciate everybody who supported this stream in any way, shape, or form. Whether you like, share, subscribe, super chatted, or did anything, or if you just watched in indifference, I do appreciate you either way. Thank you to all of you. And again, there it is right there. Black Manosphere events. Go to blackmanosphereevents.com so you can find out more about the Mumia Obsidian Ali Experience. You can get your tickets. I will be speaking there. Ike will be speaking there. Obsidian will obviously be there. Theo Waff, Shannon Rouse, and some special guests that we're not privy to drop the name of yet. We'll be there. Will be some big names there that we can't formally say, but there will be some other special guests there. Make sure you check it out. And with that said, we are out of here. Peace. We are gone.
Young man, do you want to succeed, to expand beyond your horizons. If you want to be free, then you must learn to master yourself, your thoughts, feelings, your body and spirit. Master your subjective consciousness. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. The world outside of yourself is ruled by those who are not ruled by their base instincts. Young man, go forth into the world after this. Meditate, contemplate, then plan and execute an action towards success. Take a risk, break the rules, and be disciplined within self.